Final score at Pittodrie, Celtic 5, Aberdeen 1. A much changed Celtic side, but much the same result as Celtic scored 5 goals once again. This is Tino with the Final Whistle Show, joined here by Greg. Greg, an enjoyable night's entertainment. What did you think?
Good to be back in the show again. Yeah, it was an entertaining game. Obviously a great result. More goals for us tonight, chasing records. Thought we started well. I thought there was really good interplays. Our passing was very slick through a very aggressive press by Aberdeen. I thought the break in play, and I've not heard anything about really what happened there, but I hope that person is okay and well. But I felt that kind of led Aberdeen to regroup slightly and kind of come out again. And it kind of made for a kind of scrappy last 10-15 minutes the first half. We were kind of under some sustained pressure even. And obviously they get their goal, so it was a strange finish to the half, but obviously we came out it the second half flying, played some really nice stuff. Notable mention, Tino, and I think I texted you during the game, if Yang scores, I wasn't doing the Final Whistle Show, but I thought he was so lively the whole game, and he obviously got his deserved goal as well. So only downside, obviously Reo at the end, Jamesy not getting his goal, couple of chances I'm sure we'll cover later in the piece, but fantastic scoreline considering the amount of changes we made to the starting lineup. And I think it was a hard one for Rodgers tonight, balancing who he started with ahead of the cup final, ahead of Saturday, resting players, etc. So I thought he'd get the balance pretty perfect, did Brendan?
Yeah, and it would have been hard to predict that lineup. I think 8 changes in total and a few surprises. Nice to see Johnny Kenny getting his start, and we'll get to his goal in due course. Nawrocki comes back in, has a pretty good game, pretty decent game. Sinisalo back in goals. Yang, favourite of mine, coming back in. Jeffrey Schlupp, trusty. And what it does do, the frustration actually, what it does do is it protects a lot of your players and keeps them fresh for trophy day and cup final day. But the one downside is that Reo Hatate, that can happen. People can get injured in training. These things can just go against you at different times. But that is a frustration, no doubt. But let's take it for the top, Greg. What did you think of the start overall?
Yeah, as I said, I think in opening piece there, I thought we started pretty well. The danger is when you make that amount of changes, it becomes a bit disjointed and stuff. But I actually thought that a lot of the players that came in looked pretty slick in the ball, pretty comfortable. Interplay was quite sharp. And as I say, I think every time you play Aberdeen, they are aggressive. They're aggressive in the tackle. They can put it about a wee bit. My worry was, and I stated this before, that ahead of the cup final, they might leave the boot in here and there. So yeah, you just had to be careful, but I thought Celtic handled it well, and as I said, up until the break that they were fine, and yeah, as I say, it was a pretty professional performance considering the amount of changes that were made.
Yeah, it was good to see, and it's, I think a lot of these guys, their future maybe lies elsewhere. I don't think Mike Nawrocki's got a future at Celtic. Johnny Kenny remains to be seen. Yang, as much as I like him, he's at a pivotal time in his Celtic career, and Austin Trusty, various others. But all you can do when you get these opportunities like tonight, Greg, is kind of show the best of yourself. And I thought, by and large, everybody done that. Let's stay with Mike Nawrocki at the moment. I'll go to a quick comment, first of all, from Tommy Dawson. Tommy Dawson is one of very few guys who just about called that team correctly. I think Tommy pre-match called it spot on, apart from one player. I think he had McCardle starting and McGregor dropping out. So hard luck there. But Tommy makes a good comment regarding Mike Nawrocki, saying he was outstanding from the first minute and he bullied their strikers. Greg, what's your take in general on Mike Nawrocki? How he done tonight? He obviously gets opening goal, and what future he may have at Celtic Park.
Yeah, just before going on to him, exactly, I thought it was brilliant when you see the goal back and you see McCowan who takes it, and I think Forrest comes over to take the short corner and he goes, no, it's got to go in the box. Mm-hmm. And I was delighted to see it, because I think sometimes we overplay the short corner too much, and sometimes it's a case of just getting the ball in the box. So it was a perfect timing for McCowan to say, no, I'm putting the ball in the box. Header's really good, he takes it really well, puts it in the right area. I'm kind of split on him. I'm kind of the same as you. I don't think he has a future. I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think it's worked out for him here for whatever reason. I think there's been possibly something there. I've read some stuff about maybe just a little bit soft at times, and that would go against what Tommy Dawson's saying there. But I don't think there is a future for him. I thought he did well tonight. I thought he was confident enough in his performance, took his goal well, and when he's came in, I thought against Rangers he was safe enough. Didn't really do anything. His distribution out from the back was okay. I think for where we want to go as a club, he's not the answer. And I wish him well when he goes on and plays at a level that suits him with a club that he's comfortable at. But I think it's a case of trying to move him on in the summer, if I'm honest.
It is exactly where I am with Mike Nawrocki, word for word. I think he's got something to offer. I just think, people are saying Rodgers clearly doesn't rate him, doesn't trust him, all these things. I'm not sure it's quite as extreme as that. I just think he prefers a different type of player in his team. And I don't think he's a good enough footballer, Mike Nawrocki, and I say that with respect. He's a good defender, and he played perfectly well tonight. Really good tonight, actually. Really decent game. But I just don't think he's what the manager's looking for moving forward. I actually think, put on the spot, that CCV is probably the only centre-half that he really trusts just now. I don't think Trusty's his guy. Don't really think Scales is his guy. Nawrocki, we've just covered. Stephen Welsh finds himself out on loan. Dane Murray might have a sniff. But I think Nawrocki, as I said, all these guys can do is do their bit when they come in, and he's absolutely done that tonight. He deserves great credit, and it's he who gets Celtic off the mark. What about the equaliser at the time, Greg? There was a break in play. You've covered that. Someone took on well in the crowd, and naturally, best thoughts are with that person and hope they've recovered well. There's a 6-7 minute break in play, and actually Celtic were a wee bit sluggish coming out that short break. Aberdeen seemed to find some energy at some point there, and it felt like a minute or so after that break they get their goal. And I think there's a few things that Celtic can do better there. What's your take on it?
Is this really harsh, or can the goalkeeper do slightly better? And by the way, I thought Sinisalo was really good tonight. See, after we conceded the goal, he made 2 really telling contributions where he came out and punched the ball, commanded his box excellent. I'm asking, I don't know, it was just my initial thought. I thought, is he down a wee bit slow? And that might sound a bit harsh, and by the way, I'm a big fan. I think he's come in and done absolutely fantastically well. I think his distribution, the fact he wants to get rid of the ball early, I thought tonight he was really good. That was the only slight one. I thought, could he have got down slightly earlier, or is that really harsh? I'm not sure, but maybe not closing the cross as quickly as possible. Might be a decent header. That was my only thing. I thought he could have maybe got down a little bit quicker. But again, I'm open to criticism, and that might be very, very harsh. Because I'm a fan, I think he's done really well, to be fair.
I think so too. I think he's shown a real maturity, Sinisalo, and if he's the guy who gets the nod for the cup final, then I think we'd be okay with it. Although it does look like they're just prepping Kasper Schmeichel to return for Trophy Day on Saturday and probably take the gloves at Hampden. But we'll get to all of that soon enough. I actually thought, if we are going to be harsh, and that goal tonight doesn't really matter, but you don't want to fall into sloppy habits at any time. And I think Nawrocki can go and engage quicker with, I think it's Papagay who kind of flicks it on. And I think Trusty's positioning was poor. I thought ultimately the only danger is the man in the middle, and that's Kevin Nisbet. And I thought he just got that wrong. I think he get drawn to the ball and drawn to the front post when actually the move would, and that's all happens in microseconds, don't get me wrong, but the move might have been to drop back onto the number 9. I don't think the goalie's at fault in my opinion, but we'll watch it back and maybe there's more that can be done there. But as I say, it's one each. It's not a huge issue on the night, but Celtic respond well. The 2 wingers I thought were excellent, and I was going to say I would always say that about Yang. I won't always say that. I'll comment on Yang. When he's good, and when he's average. But I think he has shown enough in those glimpses this season to show that he's worth another go, another try going into next season. You were messaging me before the game, as you say, hoping that he wasn't going to be the man to score first because you'd never hear the end of it. The 2-hour Yang special on a Wednesday night, no less. But I thought very genuinely that him and James Forrest were amongst the real bright lights for Celtic on the night.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore. I thought Forrest, his maturity to get the ball in key areas when he knew when to check out, when to go back, when to put in the middle of the pitch and recycle the ball, and just when to go straight at the fullback. And every time he got it right, and every time he had the chance to go at Shinnie, he did. And I thought he looked so dangerous. He literally was just missing his goal. He's so unlucky with his chance. It's almost like he's maybe just thinking about it too much. He's trying too hard. I thought he was excellent tonight, and I think it shows how humble he is, and the fact that he's still willing to give up opportunities to other people, and how much of a team player he is, that he had chances to shoot and he was passing it on to other guys. So I think that's incredible, just as a measure of the man first and foremost.
Yeah,
I thought Yang was excellent tonight. He looked so sharp from the get-go. Some of his touches were excellent, some of his passes, where I think he needs to improve his game is his passing. I think his dribbling's always been very good, but it's his decision making and when to dribble, when to pass. And I thought tonight he deserved his goals so much. And when I seen how well he was playing, I thought, oh dear, final whistle show with Tino. This is going to be a young special, but I have to credit where credit's due. I thought it was really good. And you're saying he might not have a future at Celtic. I actually think in the latter half of this season, he's maybe actually shown that he very much does. And the fact that now Jota's out long term kind of opens a bit of a door for him. So I think he's got a real chance just now. But I would agree with you. I thought the wingers were excellent tonight. Really good.
Yeah, and it's two players that find themselves at very different stages of their Celtic career. James Forrest, our most decorated player, picking up all the accolades, getting the Jimmy Johnson song converted into his own name tonight. The fans just adoring James Forrest and everything he's doing. Anytime he gets the ball anywhere in advance of the halfway line, they're telling him to shoot, and that's fine. And yeah, all he is missing is that finish. And I said it last week, I do think to an extent he's trying too hard, but it's easier said than done in terms of just, letting nature take its course, because he's now only got 2 games to get that record. And I said it just the other day, he won't mind, he won't lose a lot of sleep if he doesn't get it. He's a real team player, but he wants to get it. He's a winner. Naturally, he wants to get that goal. But just to pick back up on what you said there, he's playing with a newfound maturity. He's playing with a real smile on his face, a real genuine smile on his face. But what he does look like, absolutely, is a brilliant teammate. He wants to get that goal, but more important, if the right pass is on, he's going to make that pass rather than take the kind of half chance himself. And it says a lot about James Forrest, the player, and James Forrest, the man.
Yeah, totally. You're saying he is playing with a smile on the face, and I think he knows it after he missed that chance. He can have a wee wry smile on his face. I think he knew it was there tonight for the taking. And I think it will come on Saturday. I really, really do. All positive. I think it will come on Saturday. But he really deserves it, as you say, this maturity, the fact he's still playing for the team. He could get the ball every time and shoot, and nobody would complain. His teammates aren't complaining, the fans aren't complaining, but the fact he's still willing to go and be a team player speaks volumes about James Forrest as a person. So fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I nearly forgot to take my chance to wax lyrical about Yang, but I'm going to. He was as lively as I've seen him in a Celtic shirt. He's been a wee bit unfortunate. He picked up a fairly nasty injury, St Johnstone away that day. We lost 1-0. I think it was his elbow he damaged. He was in a sling for a couple of weeks. But he's shown he wants to be a part of this running. He wants to be a part of Celtic on Trophy Day, and he certainly wants to play his part in the Cup final. And whether he starts any of those 2 games, that's highly up for debate. But I think he's got a part to play in these remaining 2 games and beyond. And I think his attitude's been spot on. He's a young guy from a completely different part of the world, and I think he's come in and really embraced it and learned what it means to be a Celtic player. You might have heard the start rhymed off at the end of the game, Greg. I'm going to try and bring it up here. Yeah, Pat McLaughlin's highlighted that they said in the TV it's the first time since the 1969-70 season we've had 3 players on 20-plus goals. And Pat was trying to get the names. I think they mentioned, was it Dalglish and Glavin, something like that? Ronnie Glavin. I'm not entirely sure, but if anyone's tuning in and knows the answer, let us know who those 3 were. So who will Celtics be? Maeda, Kuhn and Idah. Is that right? Idah getting his goal for 20. So it's great to see, and it's a measure of how good this Celtic side. And before we get to the second half, Greg, it says a lot about the way that Brendan Rodgers sets his team up. Yes, you want your number 9, your Idah, formerly Kyogo, and sometimes Maeda to get their fair share of goals, and that certainly has happened. But there's goals all over this Celtic side, isn't there?
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is when you look at the stats, and I wasn't aware of that record before I heard it just there. I was kind of surprised. I don't know if it was Crocker or Sutton that said it, in terms of I thought Larsson, Sutton and Hartson might have done similar, but it just shows you the magnitude of what they've achieved by getting that record. And we've talked about Adam Idah quite a few times. Me and you have talked about it in the final whistle or pre-match. It's been in the Monday show a number of times. He's got 20 goals. That's an incredible return for a guy who's not been a bit part player, but he's not started loads and loads of games. So for him to get 20 goals is pretty impressive. But there's goals all over. The team is just incredible. And the fact that 3 guys are 20 plus now, and you're getting goals from your midfield, it really is. It's impressive stats for the season. And with that league game to go and a cup final.
Exactly. We just need Yang to get about 14 goals in these last 2 games and we're good to go. Let's take it into the second half, and we don't need to wait long for the third Celtic goal on the night, and it's Luke McCowan, and it's a good finish. At the time I was screaming for him. I had it first time. I thought it was sitting up nice for him, but he takes the extra touch, commits the defender, and smashes it into the net with his weaker right foot. And I'd like to hear your thoughts, certainly on the goal, Greg, but also your thoughts on what Luke McCowan's done in his first season as a Celtic player.
Yeah, so I'll give you more thoughts on Luke McGowan generally in the goal. I only seen it hit the back of the net because I was in pizza duty for the girls, so that's the one goal I actually didn't see the build up to, but I seen it hit the back of the net. Pleased for him, big fan. I don't really know what's going amiss with him just latterly with his season. He came in and he was scoring goals, he looked very comfortable. Again, it almost looks a little bit like he's trying too hard at times, and he almost looks like he's a bit like Adam Idah, that he's a bit of a confidence player. And his confidence looked absolutely shot after I think it was his performance against Rangers, possibly at Ibrox, that he just doesn't seem to have recovered from that. And at a club like Celtic, you need to shake that off and move forward and put in performances. I had really high hopes for him this year. I don't know if a bit like Bernardo, he's been a victim of the rotation in the middle of the park and the fact that Rodgers has ended up sticking with that midfield three, and these guys have had kind of minutes here and there to play, and they've had to scrap off that. And you know that's not easy playing football yourself. It's not easy coming in and doing that. But I thought he would have kicked on more, and he's maybe not recovered from that. He maybe needs a reset. He needs a really good pre-season at Celtic, and he kicks on again. So I certainly wouldn't write him off. I like him. I think he's got loads of ability. I think he needs to put some performance behind him and move on. But I was glad to get his goal, and I thought he was okay tonight. I thought he came up at points and he was fine. And as I say, took the goal well, and I'm happy he's got it, and hopefully he kicks on.
Yeah, he came in for a bit of rough treatment. He was involved in a bit of a rough and tumble at different times, but he'll take a big lift from the goal. You know, players like that, he's quite an attack-minded midfielder, and he'll certainly take a boost from that. But I agree, he got that start in Callum McGregor's absence at Ibrox. Didn't have a good game, and he came under fairly strong criticism. And at that point, a few fans made their mind up on Luke McCowan, just saying, you know, it's not going to work, he's not going to be good enough. I think he has got a lot to offer. I also think he won't like anybody saying this, but I also think you do need to have squad players, guys that are in and out on the periphery, allow Callum McGregor to rest, allow Reo Hatate, Arnie Ingles to rest at different times. And it sounds funny to say this about a guy who I think is 27. It's a bit of a breakthrough season for him. He's never been at this level or anything close to this level in his life. You know, he's had a fairly run-of-the-mill Scottish football career to date, Ayr United, Dundee, and obviously a popular and talented player at both of those sides. But to go from Dundee to Celtic, it is massive. It's a huge jump. And as much as he knows what the club are all about, you know, in terms of what it means to be at Celtic and the expectations, there's a lot for him to learn in terms of, you know, the pace and the demands and the programme. You know, I think it was Celtic's 55th game tonight, for example. And that can all take time. And I think, like a lot of these guys, I think Arnie Ingles, Adam Idah, like McCowan, you're going to see the best of these guys next time around. I think next season, it's all primed for them to really kick on. So that's the big hope for guys like Luke McCowan. Another guy, as we mentioned at the top of the piece, who is playing for his Celtic future, let's be frank about it, is Johnny Kenny. Johnny Kenny doesn't lack anything in terms of work rate and industry and effort for the side. I mentioned that, like James Forrest, I think he's been trying a wee bit too hard to get his goal, but get his goal he did tonight. And it's a really smart finish, a really clever centre-forward header, and I think everyone's delighted for him.
Yeah, I don't think game day could be happier. Everybody was so happy that he got his goal, and he took it really well. It's a really smart finish. Again, I agree with you. I think he was trying a little bit hard. I thought in the first half at times he got caught in his heels slightly. His passing, he was just a little bit tense with the weight of his passes. But yeah, really smart finish. Great ball in, nips in front of the defender, gets his header away, and he'll be absolutely over the moon with that. And hopefully, again, just that little confidence booster to kick him on. I'm not sure about him in terms of, is he the answer moving forward? A lot of people say no way. Where we want to go as a club is not Johnny Kenny, but we've got to give him a chance. He's taking his goal tonight, and hopefully he gets more minutes moving forward. But we'll just need to wait and see with him again. He needs a pre-season. He needs to be about the club. But yeah, smart finish, and I was really, really chuffed for him. So fair play to him.
And all Johnny Kenny and others in his position can do, and now he's done it, is come in and score goals, create assists, and have an impact. He had a notable impact against Ross County. Myself and Paddy were at that game in January 11th, if I've got that correct. And he came off the bench and made a real difference when we were huffing and puffing a wee bit. He just brought a bit of energy, a bit of industry, as I mentioned there. And he seems to have a good attitude. I think he's 21, so there's time there. And under a manager like Brendan Rodgers, you would certainly develop. So the hope is that Johnny Kenny can kick on. Let's hope he gets a good pre-season, the manager will get a real good look at him. He'll play in some friendlies, and then it's decision time. Does he stay and play back up to Adam Idah, Maida, and whoever else comes in at striker, or do we maybe put him back out on loan again and develop him further? But he'll be buzzing right now, and fair play to him, as you say, for what he brought to the party. Celtic have brought on a raft of subs, as they tend to do. So on the 61st minute, it's Hatate on for McGregor, Alistair Johnson for Ralston. Great to see Johnson back. I'll not spend much time on it, but great to see him back, getting the armband and just primed for those last two games. And then about 10 minutes after, Adam Idah comes on for Johnny Kenny, and Nicholas Kuhn ruins my day by coming on for Yang just as he was going for his hat-trick. But that's the way it goes. But the other sub I want to talk about, Greg, and spend a wee bit of time on is young Sean McArdle. He comes on in the 81st minute. We didn't see too much of him at the weekend. He got similar game time and got a few touches. Tonight he got more touches, and to quote Brendan Rodgers, he showed a bit of personality. Brendan Rodgers says that's what he wants guys to do when they come in. Don't come in and coast. Don't come in and play safe. Come in and try and have an impact and show what you're capable of. And at 17, he looks really clever, really cultured. I don't think he gave it away once, and he had a decent effort on goal as well. He can be really pleased with what he brought to the party tonight.
Yeah, we've spoke about Spiky Brendan before. I'm going to be Spiky Greg, Tino. Why on earth is he not starting? Why in a game like that is he not starting the game? At any point in the season, if you can play a youth player who you rate, why is it not that game? Why are you even... And I know I'm being spiky here, but again, you look at the Reo Hatate injury. You don't need to bring Hatate on at that point, and he picks up an injury at the end of the game. And I was having this conversation on WhatsApp. Yeah, you're going for records. Yeah, there's players there. People have moaned, and we've spoken about it in the Monday show throughout the season. We're not seeing youth come through. You need to give youth a chance, and it had to be on nights like this. It's a no-brainer for me giving the guy the start. I could not get my head around it. I can't really get my head around some of the changes, if I'm honest, and it's come back to bite us if Hatate misses a cup final. Why are you not bringing on your young players? The game's done. You don't need to bring on. Fitness is not an issue for Reo Hatate just now. He doesn't need the minutes. Fitness is not an issue for Callum McGregor. He doesn't need it. Play the young players when you have the opportunity to do it. I know you need to keep maybe some players in there to keep a bit of a skeleton side to it, but if you're going to play youth, tonight's a perfect example. So that's the one massive downside to me, and I think it's a bit of a criticism, whether it's Rodgers, Celtic. You have to play youth on a night like tonight, and I thought he should have had more minutes than 9. I think that's poor.
I can see the argument, absolutely, and you can see, I can actually genuinely see both sides of that, because there's pros that just want to keep ticking along as well, and I agree, it's not a fitness thing. They're as fit as they'll be at this stage in the season, but Brendan Rodgers maybe just feels, I just want to keep those guys ticking along, keep them primed for the weekend and next week. But absolutely, you can see the argument for saying at 3-1 the game's dead, at 4-1 it's definitely dead. Can we then make some changes? It was at 4-1 with half an hour still to play. There was plenty of time, and it might have been a smarter time to bring in McArdle. But that aside, and that's a debate that might rumble on, what about what he brought to the party in terms of his touches, his skill, his ability? We've got this thing going on where, Celtic, we really do take a softly approach with introducing young guys to the team. And then you look across at Yamin Lamal over in Spain, absolutely tearing it up at 17 years of age. And the whole thing about if you're good enough, you're old enough would apply. I remember a number of years back now, not that long ago, Lenny had a situation with Karamoko Dembele. I think he played the last or second last game of the season, and all of a sudden found himself in the cup final squad. And based on those touches, and based on the fact that Celtic are a wee bit light in the wings in the absence of Jota, there's a chance that McArdle maybe plays his way into a cup final squad.
Absolutely, and why not? His wee touch at the end, his pass, I think, that led to the Idah goal was absolutely brilliant. It's kind of behind him almost. He managed to flick it round the corner to Kuhn, who does very well with his body weight just to square it on towards the goal. But that little touch round the corner showed real maturity. And at 17, you'd love to see these guys getting their chances and understand they need to work hard for it. And Rodgers always goes on about that. There's no point in just going through the motions and getting into the team and then settling for that. You've got to go and put in the work. You've got to listen to the coaches, make the right decisions. Absolutely, tonight's a night for that, and I think you alluded to it there. 4-1 with half an hour to go, it's a kind of perfect opportunity. But don't want to dwell on the negatives, but I felt it was maybe an opportunity missed for him to get more game time. I'd be surprised maybe not to see him in the cup final squad, and what an achievement for that young man, and what a moment for him and his family if that turns out to be the case. But he looks a real prospect, doesn't he?
He really does, and it's brilliant to see the fact that he got minutes at the weekend but followed up. I've mentioned this stat several times now. Jude Bonner came in for 10 minutes halfway through the season against Aberdeen. We've not seen him since. Francis Turley played on Matchday 3 for Celtic, disappeared. Daniel Cummins gets some minutes against Villa. We'll probably never see him in a Celtic shirt again. So it's good that Sean McArdle got his minutes at the weekend and followed them up with more minutes and more effective minutes tonight. He came in and actually done something. And I think he can be proud of what he's done so far. And there is a real genuine chance he makes the cup final, and good luck to him if he does so. Reo Hatate, we won't dwell on this either. We won't spend too much time, but it is the one real disappointment hanging over the night. He came in and he looked good when he came on, didn't he? He showed some great touches early on. He got a good shot away, linking up, and just very relaxed, very good footballer, generally speaking. The challenge itself, it just seems unnecessary. Now, don't get me wrong, Papagay at that point might just have been pissed off at getting the runaround for 85 minutes or whatever it was, but he's gone in heavy and he's gone right through, and you can just see why the knee would have jarred there. Reo Hatate's kind of gone in, I don't think he's expecting as heavy a tackle as that, and I don't fault Reo Hatate for not going in full-blooded. It just didn't feel like that kind of moment. Brendan Rodgers was furious, wasn't he? Absolutely furious, and I thought the fourth official looked a wee bit of a job's worth, if I'm being honest. He was in the wrong end of some sharp words by Brendan Rodgers. But your take on the incident overall, and yeah, your concerns over Reo's end to the season.
Yeah, it didn't look good at all. It was a bit like when Jota got injured. I hate to say it, just didn't look great. And we've all been there with one of those ones that you kind of put your foot in and somebody just smashes through it and the foot goes away, but the knee stays where it is. Yeah, it wasn't great. Regarding the challenge, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think the guys just had a bit of a miserable night. I actually thought the boy had quite a good 30-40 minutes and then faded out the game. I don't know if he's put in a lot of work and he just went in and I don't know. It's one of those ones. He smashed to the tackle. He doesn't really need to do it, but he has get the ball, and Rio's foot's been there just to take the full impact of it. But yeah, I wouldn't like with the fourth official. Brendan Rodgers was giving him absolute daggers. The fact that he's standing between Rodgers and Hatate should never be happening. The fourth official should just take a step back, take himself out of the equation, and let Rodgers speak to his own player to see if he's okay or not. But to stand in between them and have a bit of a stare off, it was a bit strange by the fourth official. But some of the officiating tonight was a bit strange at times as well, but we won't go into that. Another debate for another time. But yeah, I would worry about that. But again, it brings me back to my point that maybe he shouldn't have been on the park in the first place, and there's other people you can use, and you protect your players in order for the cup final. But you don't know these things are going to happen, in fairness to Rodgers. I would have used the squad more widely in terms of a night like tonight, especially when the game's done, and even give him maybe a cameo with 10 minutes on Saturday. But we don't know. Rodgers, I'm never going to question Rodgers, and he'll know exactly how many minutes players are getting on Saturday and who's coming in ahead of the cup final, and I'm not going to question that. But from an outsider, I just thought it was a perfect time maybe to give these guys a rest.
Yeah, and you can absolutely see the argument for that, and I just think it's the hope. It's a cliched hope in a game like this. A game that doesn't really matter materially. It's just let's get through it. 3 points, we're happy with 3 points and down the road with everybody fit and available. And there's a genuine concern. The knee heavily strapped up, he had the ice pack on it and different things. So we'll need to wait and hear word for that. We've obviously come on straight on the final whistle, so I've not even heard Brendan Rodgers' comments. But I'll be interested to hear what he's saying about it, and interesting to hear what he is saying about the fourth official. He was livid, and the fourth official was almost not squaring up to Rodgers, but he was kind of putting himself out there, and I think Rodgers was asking him to kind of back off. It was a strange scenario. It seemed unnecessary. I thought the guy get too involved, and we'll see if there's any follow-up on that. We can save the conspiracy chat for another day, but I thought there was a shocking tackle on Nicholas Kuhn on the right wing. He got to the byline, got it across, and got absolutely wiped out, and Steve McLean saw fit to play on it. It's a strange scenario, but by the by, we thought the goal scoring might have been all over at that point, but we're obviously desperate for Forrest to maybe try and nick one, and there was a couple of half chances coming his way. But it's actually Adam Idah that responds quickest in the box. He gets that 20th goal of the season, and it's fit and reward. I think he's on something like 6 goals in the last 5 games. He continues to get criticised, and he continues to score goals. Not much more he can do at this moment in time.
Yeah, as a striker, you're there to score goals, and he's doing it. He's doing it differently to previous strikers we've had. I've obviously listened to shows, and I think as a Celtic support generally, we're quite split on him. in my head, I'm quite split on him. Sometimes I see him and I really like him. He puts in the work. I think he does a lot of stuff off the ball that a lot of people probably don't notice or don't see, and it leads to him having tap-ins, being there in the right place at the right time. That all comes from hard work and his movement. I'm going to judge him next year after a pre-season with Celtic. I thought his pre-season this year was honking. I think he was pretty sickened from where he came from and was away doing other stuff before he came to Celtic that maybe he shouldn't have been doing. That's me completely surmising. But I think he needs a good pre-season with Celtic and then you judge him. And if he has a good pre-season with us, he comes back in shape and his confidence is high, I think you'll see a very, very good striker.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm a massive fan, and I think we'll see the best of him next season. But there's still a wee window to have a really strong finish this season. Someone made the comment earlier on, he could easily grab a hat-trick on Saturday, score a couple in the cup final, 25 goals for the season, and you're good to go. But as I say, all he can do at this moment in time is continue to score, and that's what he does, and good luck to Adam Idah on that front. Greg, we're going to do a pre-match on Friday. We'll cover the trophy day against St Mirren on Saturday. That's a lunchtime kickoff. But just as we round this one off, a wee nod towards that one. What you expect on the day, and also just in general, trophy day is a special one for all concerned, and nothing that we should ever take for granted at Celtic.
Yeah, I heard you're straight up the Tron gate after it, Tino. So good luck to you up there. Yeah, it's a great day. I think the weather looks fantastic back in Glasgow. They're always great days out. I actually expect Celtic to go, and with all due respect, to go and score 4 or 5. If I'm really honest, I think it will be a bit of a kind of family day for the players. Well, obviously, everybody's looking ahead to the following week, so it's a bit of a pause, but I think the players will be nice and relaxed. Nice weather, at home in front of home fans, party atmosphere. I expect us to go and put in a really good performance. And I expect us to get a fair few goals on Saturday, with no disrespect to the opposition. But yeah, great days out there. You can't take them for granted. I know people say you're not get bored all the time. No, we don't get bored. It's fantastic. It's hard work, and the players deserve it. And I think Saturday will be a case for the players just to go and enjoy themselves, soak up the atmosphere. But we're 100%. We've got one eye on the following Saturday to the cup final, which everybody's kind of waiting for. But it'll be a fantastic day out for the fans as well. And obviously after it, whatever you choose to do, whether you're Tron Gate or a bowling club, I know where I would be. But yeah, it'll be a great day out for the fans.
Yeah, loads to look forward to on and off the park on Saturday for players and fans alike. There's lots of wee subplots developing going into Saturday. You know, you've got the James Forrest thing going on. You've got Sean McArdle all of a sudden. A couple of weeks ago, most of us won't have heard of him. Tino and Greg looking to finish the season strong. Adam Idah looking to add to his goal tally. Forgot to mention, of course, that Celtic were chasing down another record in terms of goals scored on Saturday. The 3-1 win on Saturday put us on 106 goals, league goals for the season. That equalled Brendan Rodgers' Invincibles. The next record we were chasing was the 111 goals scored in a league campaign by the Lisbon Lions back in 66-67 season. We had 2 games to do it. We've done it tonight in 1 game. Those 5 goals tonight take us to 111 goals, albeit the Lions done it in 34 league games at the time, and they also managed to pick up a European Cup for their troubles. But you've got to set these wee milestones, and these players keep responding, and I think it's a really exciting couple of games to look forward to. Greg, we're just about to close a chapter on this one tonight. Your final thoughts for Celtic 5, Aberdeen 1?
Yeah, no, yeah, fantastic result. I think, as I said at the top of the show there, like when you make that many changes, you're always slightly worried in how the performance is going to be. It got a bit ragged towards the end of the first half, but all in all, you get 5 goals, you make those changes, some key players don't have to go and play, and it's a fantastic result. And as you say, you equal that record, and I don't think that can be shunned. I know you're saying that they won a European Cup on the way and done it in less games, but what a fantastic achievement. That amount of goals, the goal difference generally in the league table is absolutely incredible. So you've got to praise the manager and the players, and it sets us up nicely for a great day on Saturday, celebratory day, and then hopefully go on and get yet another treble a week on Saturday. So it's great times, and I'm a bit gutted I'm not going to be back in Glasgow for this Saturday and the following Saturday, but as I said to you, I will be in Boston for the Scottish Cup final, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, spot on. If you can't make it to Hampden, Boston would be a good place as any, and I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself there. Greg, thanks for joining us here all the way from Canada on a Wednesday night. Thanks to everyone who continues to join us in the live and make the show what it is. A really good night for Celtic overall, slightly shadowed by that Reo Hatate injury, but fingers crossed that's not too serious. As mentioned, we'll be back on Friday with the countdown to kick-off ahead of Trophy Day on Saturday. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks again for supporting the Celtic Exchange. We'll see you all again really soon.